Crawford actually is a spiritual boxer, and I'm talking about boxing. Well, I'm going to be talking about my career. Should have got some notes set up, but right, get yourself comfortable, get yourself a cuppa, beverage of your choice. It's story time. I'm going to talk about my managers. My first manager was Tommy Miller. Went in a partnership with Peter Coleman, so Peter Coleman was the trainer and Tommy was my manager. And it was like 25% split between them two. Well, a couple of months before, I got approached by Trevor Callaghan to turn pro, and we had a conversation in the house, and basically this is what he said to me. He takes 25% because he's the manager, and that's what it says on the contract, that's what he's allowed to. He takes 10% trainers fees because that's what the contract says he's allowed to, so he's going to take that. And then he takes 15% gym fees. Now this gym, I know this gym that he's got, it's in the cellar of a pub. It's absolutely crap. So I got to pay 15% for that, 10% for my trainer, which he will find, and 25% for him for doing what. And then he says I have to pay expenses as well. So if we go to a fight, I've got to pay for expenses. So I just looked at him and I said, so what you're saying to me is if I go down to London for a fight, I get £100. He went, yeah. And I said, so I've got to give you 25%. I've got to give 10%, 15%, so you get 50% straight away. He went, yeah. The British Boxing Board of Control says, I'm allowed to do that. Okay, that's fine. I said, so expenses. So I get down to London and I miss the train back and we have to stay overnight. I owe you money. And he looked at me like, nothing, that's just normal. And I went, yeah. No, I'm not signing. So then he says to me, if you're going to sign, will you let me know? So I says, yeah. So how I came to pro, that was just before, but before that, I was in a lot of trouble and I was looking at basically 5 years in prison. And I was at Crown Court and it went, I've cut a long story short, the jury's gone out to bring back the verdict and I got told by my barrister, if I got found guilty I'm doing 5 years. And I'm down in the cell under the court waiting for the verdict to come back, and all I just said to myself is, if I get out of this I'm not getting into no more trouble again. And somebody must have been listening or something was listening, because when I went up, the jury found me guilty and the judge fined me £100 and £25 compensation, saying, I believe your side of the story, Mr. Crawford. I never lied through that case, and then when I came out, I decided to put myself in prison. And all it was home, gym, back to the house, back to the gym. And I was going back to my old amateur gym, Birmingtofts. And it was there that a guy called John Darkie came in and he asked me what I was doing. I just said, I'm a bit lost. He said, you thought about going pro? I'd fallen out with the amateur game. Amateurs were just shit. Too much politics and too much racism. Or favouritism, shall I call it. But I'll do another one about my amateur career a bit later on. I'm just trying to talk through this one and get my head right. And I forgot where I am now. Yeah, so he says, meet Peter Coleman and Tommy Miller. So I met Peter Coleman and Tommy Miller. And I decided to go there because the gym was walking distance to my house. So I'd walk to the gym, train, walk home, 5 days a week. And then I just started boxing. And my first fight was in 1987. I'll have a little look just to make sure. Yeah, 1987 in March. And I won in the second round. And then I got £100, £150 for that, and 25% was taken off. And I was just boxing away. Then the first thing I can remember about that fight was when I walked in, Gary Mason was there, he was sort of like doing commentating on it. And I couldn't believe he was the British heavyweight champion. And he was only small. I'm not saying small, it was short but wide, very wide. And that was on my mind. Heavyweight champion of the world, heavyweight champion of Britain. I'm sure I could beat him. And then I had my fight, won the fight, and I just thought, why didn't I do this before? It was something that was missing. So I went into training with them. Now Peter Coleman and Tommy Miller had a stable of journeymen. I knew what I was getting myself into. Peter Coleman was just a sadist. Everything screaming, shouting, effing and blinding. Like, you know, I know what I'm doing. I'm training, I've got my basics down. So wherever I am in a ring, my basics are there, so I know I'm safe. And I think it was my first year, I went over to spar with Alex Blanchard in Holland. He ripped me off. That was an interesting time. And some of the stuff Peter Coleman, kind of think of them now. I had loads, but they've all seemed to just disappeared out of my head. But I remember one time, I hadn't been boxing for a couple of months and I was skint. So I took a job on as a pointing an house up in Chapeltown. And I've been in the gym for about 3 weeks, and I come into the gym on Monday and he goes, "Where the f*** have you been?" I said, "What do you mean, where have I been? I've been working." He said, "I had you a job on Saturday." He said, "They were going to send an helicopter for you, and it was good money." I didn't ask how much it was. He said, "It was good money." I went, "Ah." He said, "Who was it against?" He went, "John Mugabe." I just started laughing. I said, "Thank fuck you didn't find me." He went, "Why?" I said, "Because this silly cunt, they took that job." You know, and it's like, anybody who knows the boxing knows who John the Beast Mugabe was. The man was one dangerous animal. And then putting you in ring in that kind of situation. He did it to a friend, Darren Upson. He'd been out partying all night. At 6 o'clock in the morning, he's waiting for him at his lockup because he was a market trader. Darren comes in all hungover. "Ah, you're fighting tonight in London. Get your gear." Got his gear, went down and boxed Nigel Benn that night. So, was he in it for the fighters or was he in it for the money? He was in it for the money. I boxed Carl Thompson for the Central Area title. And I won that, and then my next fight was my last fight for them. And it was against Brian Schumacher. And in that fight I got £1,000. And out of it they took 35%. They took 25% the manager's fee and 10% trainer's fee. Because now I'm earning money, £1,000, my first ever time for £1,000, and they took 35% off me. That was bollocks. And another time I boxed, I'll tell you what it is in a minute, John Foreman. And I smashed both my hands up. They weren't broken, they were like, in the tendons down each one of my fingers, they run through what they call sleeves, and the sleeves had swollen, I'd squashed them. Every time I bent my hands like that, it was painful. I didn't do any bag work, any sparring, any pad work or anything. And I boxed Blaine Lonsdon, and that was down to Peter Coleman, because he said that Nigel Benn wanted me on his bill. And it's like, why my hands are hurting? "Oh, don't worry about it, we'll win this one." It just been money. Blew it. Lost it. I got stopped in the second round. But I just smiled and just thought to myself, you lot are a set of... Anyway. But I decided that I'm not going to be managed by him anymore, so I just sat out my last couple of things on my contract. What is the 1990 April, so I had like 2 months left on my contract, and I just decided to sit it out. And in the meantime I was sort of like writing letters to promoters, you know, looking for somewhere. and I got one back from Barry Hearns. But in the meantime, Peter Coleman decided to write to the board and tell them I was blind in my left eye. And then the board told me that I wasn't allowed, they wouldn't issue me a license unless I got a report from an ophthalmic consultant. You know? So that worked out alright for me, and then I went with Barry Hearns. But what I'm saying about trainers and managers, some of you fighters out there, it's not about you being loyal to them, it's about them being loyal to you and doing the job. You know, you pay your manager 25% to get you the best work possible. But how do you know it's the best work possible when you're not allowed to talk to the promoter or the manager or another manager? Because it's in the British Boxing Board of Control contract that no manager or a promoter is allowed to approach a fighter who's under contract. But as a boxer, we employ the manager, and we pay them 25% for them to find us work. But they abuse that. You can only have one manager, but they can have as many boxers as they want. And if they don't like you, they'll just stop you from boxing. Nobody else can talk to you. It's wrong. Proper wrong. Anyway, I had, like I said, I had a fallout with them. And then it was, Barry Hearns was the only one who got in contact with me. I went to meet him. And on the meeting with Barry was at one of his shows. He told me that Darkie would be the manager. He employs Darkie as the manager because managers and promoters aren't allowed to have the same license because it was a conflict of interest. So he employs the best because he don't know nothing about boxing. And he told me not to tell him how to promote, and he would tell me how to box. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I've gone down there and and the first time I've ever met Darkie, he picked me up at the train station. He's taken me to Romford. And he says to me, it's not his job to get me fit. I said, well, he says, you're a professional athlete, your job is to be fit. My job is to put the finishing touches. He says, I'm a diamond polisher, you're just a rough diamond, and I'm just here to polish it. That made a lot of sense to me. You know, let me be, let me shine. I put the work in, I worked hard, man. And then I sparred with Chris Eubanks. The first session with Chris Eubanks, Darkie said to me, don't take no prisoners. So I understand what that means. Well, first spar, second spar, third spar. By the end of the week, I hadn't been in the gym for 3-4 months. So the first spar was pretty easy. And it just got easier for me through the week. And on the Friday, he said to Darkie he didn't want to spar with me anymore. You know? Because he couldn't bully me. He couldn't get the best of me. And he didn't like that. So Darkie told him to go back to Brighton. So now I'm boxing on the St. Bullism at Brighton. And when I get down there, I fight this guy called Dwayne Muniz. Oh yeah, my first 3 years, I had 15 fights, lost 3 and won 12 by KO. So my first fight for Barry Hearns, I'm fighting a kid who's had 5 and lost 5. How fucking embarrassing is that? You know what I mean, for me. And after the fight, I was disgusted, to be truthful with you. And the commentator asked me what I thought, and I went, nothing. Said I never learned a thing in that ring. You know? And when I went to get my pay, I went to see Barry. I went, Barry, he says, what? I says, don't ever do that to me again. He went, what? I says, get me an opponent like that. I says, I need test, I need a good opponent. You know what I mean? I want to know how good I am. So he says that we all want good fights. I said, I do. I want to know that when I get to become a world champion, I'll be able to keep it. You know, and these are learning. I got to learn as I go. Because it's a different game as the pro game to an amateur game. So it's like talking to me and he's looking at me, and then I says, can I have my wage? Can I have my purse? And he says, how much did we agree? I said, we never agreed anything. He said, is it £1,000 alright? I went, yeah, of course it is. And I just started with it. I said, is it then? And he went, oh no, I'll send it to you. I said, Barry, I've always been the away fighter. I've always been paid on the night. I've got no money. He put his hand in his pocket and he gave me £200 and he told me to send me a cheque. Well, I never heard anything from Barry for about a week. So I phoned up at Matchroom and the girl on the phone said, hello, is that? I said, it's Crawford Ashley, can I speak to Barry Hearns, please? She went, I'll just see if he's available. I'm thinking, oh, what the frick. Next voice, hiya Crawford, what can I do for you? I went, Barry, I'm being paid. I haven't got your address, Crawford. All right, man, I'll give him my address. He said, I'll send you the money. So he sent me the money. Sent me the cheque the next day, so, you know what I mean, that was all right. Then about 2 or 3 months later, I get a phone call from Darkie telling me that he's fallen out with Barry and he's giving me my contract back. I was quite happy with Darkie. I liked the way he trained, I liked his style. And I says, all right then, and then Barry Hearns phoned me up, told me to come down to a meeting. I says, can we talk over the phone? He went, no, he needs to see me at a meeting. So, all right then, whinged and moaned about it, but I went down. When I got down there were about 20, 30 fighters, all with like 5 or 10 minute time slots. I'm thinking, I don't like this, man. So I walked into the office, and before we even started, I said, Barry, can I have some expenses, please? I mean, I've come all the way down for Leeds for something that could have been done over the phone. So he wrote me out a cheque for some expenses, which I was happy with. Thank you. And we had a discussion, and he told me that about him and Darkie falling out, and now he wants me to sign with Matchroom Promotions. I said, yeah, no problem. And my trainer would be Freddie King. I went, no. He went, why not? I said, I want my own trainer. He says, well, that's not going to happen. I said, well, I'm not going to sign. And I got up and I walked out. And then about 2 days later, I get a phone call from him. And we have the same discussion again. And he says he's not going to have any prima donnas in his camp. I just started laughing, man. I just said, okay, fine. Then he said to me, there'll be food on my table in the morning, Crawford. And I just went, fuck off, and put phone down. And then that was that. And then I started writing more letters, and I got a reply back from Barney Eastwood. Little Tommy got in touch with him, little Irish guy, old Irish guy from Hearns, Tommy, got in touch with Barney Eastwood. And Barney Eastwood watched me. He told me he watched me on a few videos, and he thought I could fight, so he got in touch with me, and I went to see him. Now that one is going to be in another part. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was just off the top of my head. And there's more stories in there, but like I said, I like to just run at it, jump at it, you know what I mean? See how it goes, how it pans out. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, leave a comment. If you haven't, leave a comment. I see people giving thumbs down. Got 1 or 2, but tell me why. I'd just like to know your opinion. You know what I mean? It's alright for giving me a thumbs down without no reason. But it'd be good if I got a reason. Anyway, so I could improve. That's what I'd like to do. Improve the channel to get it further. Somebody's on about doing a live stream. I ain't got a clue. Another thing, you know what I mean? It's all the equipment needs upgrading, everything's but that's it. And it's like I say, if you can't be yourself, just be brilliant. Until part 2, I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye.